Well, welcome back into the Atlanta Born and Brand Studios, and we are privileged today to have my friend Bhargava Chiluveru here on the show. And Bhargava, we've kind of walked this parallel path for the last few years here in the startup world in Atlanta. So it's great to finally have you on the show to sort of commiserate.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome. I've seen you guys grow, and I'm really excited to be here.
Well, likewise, man. Likewise, it's great to have you. And we're both sitting here in our somewhat hometown of Lilburn, Georgia, which is quite the thing, fellow Lilburners. Bhargava, you've been working on sort of a number of things over the last few years, and your heart for the city is super admirable, which I appreciate, as it's something I think we share and goals that we both want to see move forward. Let's talk first about 404 and the vision for that, and when that sort of came to you, and what that means to you personally.
It's 404 is like it's an interesting thing because like it came out of I almost feel like it's a need for the city. The city really advertising, marketing, like the areas of entertainment that are more small scale just need a community. Like there needs to be a place where folks can really utilize resources that are at hand of a lot of these agencies and be able to just learn from that, right? And I think that was where my passion for that organization kind of came about. It was really an offshoot of our main agency, which is Chil & Company. So we really created it as somewhat of a paid forward kind of a thing. So we really wanted to create something where we can collaborate with local artists, provide them with resources that we had, and connect them with other community members, other creators that they can collaborate with or help them succeed in their goals. So that's right now, our goal is still to elevate the space of like whatever you want to call it. If it's content creation, just social media marketing or advertising, whatever that may be, but in the form of helping local artists, I think.
Yeah, and there's concept we talk about a lot on the show of a rising tide lifts all boats, and 404 is that in a nutshell. It's about the exposure, it's about the community, using each other to kind of iron sharpens iron type of a situation, which I love. Tell folks practically when that don't know about 404 what the experience of interacting with that brand is like, what the platform looks like in the community.
Like it's been really hard this last year because like we've kind of had to pivot from the in-person experience that we were striving for all this time. So last year was really tough, but what we're planning on doing and what we have been doing for the last few years is to really create a community and an environment for local creators to thrive. The way, like, if you are just a person that just enjoys art and wants to support local art, you can go to 404.co, and really it's just a shop for you. Like you really are able to just support folks, and then you'll also be able to see all the different events that we do, which are primarily geared towards content creators or anybody that's interested in any sort of a creative activity. So we do meetups that are like photo walks. We do some that we call them like culture walks, where we're like really partner with like a historian or somebody who's interested in history. They walk us through historical parts of the city, which I think is really cool. You get to capture that. And then we do like we did photo battles recently. Basically, it's almost like America's Next Top Model, but the focus is more on the photography and the content creation. So it's like two stations where two photographers battle it out live in front of an audience, and the audience gets to vote. So that these are like, we hope to just kind of keep going and create these experiences that just don't exist yet. And it's something that not even just it doesn't exist in any city, not just our city. So I think that's something that I'm really excited about. So yeah, from both ways. If you're just a consumer, you can just go and buy art, and anything that's a local art collaboration, we split our profits 50-50 with the artist, and they don't have to do anything up front to make the collaboration happen. So that's something we're proud of.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's great. Talk about that community piece and how that looked for you before pandemic. Obviously, I would keep track of the meetups you guys would have, and I know you started to see new faces, but you also saw the same folks over and over again that really started to embrace that community. What was that like for you to see?
Yeah, it's surprising, and it's also just so satisfying to see that like there's the same people that show up like consistently and like want to participate, and they thrive in it. I almost see like whenever folks come to the meetups, they take all this energy that they kind of get from everybody else and take it into either their art, their content, whatever they're working on. I think that's something that's really exciting to me. I really thrive in these environments because like the older I've gotten, and like we just talked about us having a kid like for the last 3 years, having our baby, like the only chances I've gotten to be able to create for myself have been like during these meetups. And I think and a lot of folks, especially in times like this, which is where like we think we could really utilize this, like which we haven't been able to, but like I think there's a lot of folks that are introverted, like that have a hard time already going out, and there's a lot of folks that I see like that at the meetups, which makes me really happy because that's who I was when I was younger. When I was a middle schooler down the street, I didn't have an opportunity because nothing like that existed, and and I think it brings out a lot of introverts or a lot of folks that are maybe not introverted but just don't have the opportunity to get out and do stuff.
Right.
Like that. Yeah.
Well, and there's this icebreaker of the online community that we didn't necessarily have growing up, that people are comfortable and have seen other people's work. They know that you share similar interests because of the things that you've seen on each other's Instagram profiles. So there's this instant connection that we would have never have known walking past each other in the hallway at Lilburn Middle School. But now there's this just automatic trust and sort of respect that is sort of shared in this community. And we're you're taking the best of both worlds, because you have this online community that creates that credibility and that trust up front, but then you're providing an opportunity that most online communities don't have to get together face to face and enjoy community like it's been originally meant to be enjoyed, face to face in the same room with one another. So it's this cool divergence of those two things.
It's I'm really excited to just like start having events again. But it's just for the sake of everybody's safety, we just tried to we did a couple of outdoor meetups, but it's just trying to get it back. We're really excited to do that.
Absolutely. Well, I think everyone shares your sentiment there. But Bhargava, take me back to early on. I guess maybe pre finishing up school. Did you always know that there was this creative inside of you that wanted to do something in that space, or were you focused on something else and kind of stumbled upon photography or art or whatever it was that you stumbled upon? How did you go down that path?
And to be honest, Fourofour is like a very it's a maybe let's say 10% of my life. My, I would say 50% of my life is dedicated to Chil & Co., which is our advertising agency. And then another is like our studio, which is called Chil.Studios. And both of those, I do think there was a little part of me that really wanted to do this growing up. From the beginning, I was really lucky to have my dad, when I was growing up in India, have his own ad agency. He was a very creative minded person. I think even my mom encouraged me to be creative. But I think there was also this hesitancy of going into that world, especially after moving here, because he had to switch careers and had to do something in IT. And in their mind, I think that's all, that's how they saw that I had to kind of to survive as well. They thought that I had to be a programmer and this and that. So they really pushed me to go into computer science and do all that, which I'm really grateful for, because I have a whole set of knowledge that I really still use in my in our creative agency to today. So I'm really grateful for that. But at the same time, I think that took a back seat once I started pursuing those things. And I think right out of college, I ended up switching my major in college without my parents knowing to marketing, and I ended up getting a job, which was a mixture of both. It was I was an e-commerce manager, but I was also doing all the creative. So I was designing the website, but I was also doing all the back end work, and so it really helped me fine tune both sides of my brain, and that really helped out. But
what was your major before you switched it?
It was computer science. I wasn't not doing that great. And I think, I had to take calculus as one of the first classes, and I just, I don't think that was, just not in my brain just couldn't handle it. Sure. So I wasn't, doing great. So I knew I had to make that change. And I think some part of me knew my parents wouldn't necessarily accept or whatever it may be, but I'm grateful that it was the case. Honestly, hindsight's 2020. I probably should have just gone to a different school, done a different thing, but would it have put me where I am today? Sure. Everything's kind of hindsight's always 2020. So, but yeah, after a couple of jobs, I think I just, one thing that kind of was working against me is because I didn't have that start and start in this world, especially in the world of advertising or content or whatever it is, creativity, you really need to have an early start, and I didn't have that. I didn't have an internship at an agency or and at that time I think there was only a handful of agencies in town that anybody really knew about, and I applied to all of them, and I got rejected from all of them because again my name was Bhargava Chiluveru, first of all. If they had to pick up a call and pronounce my name, that probably wouldn't have been the first hindrance. Second, I just didn't have a great portfolio, and now in hindsight I kind of realized that because I just worked for one or two companies, and I didn't really have this so after that I just realized I kind of had to do this on my own, and I partnered with my wife Anu, who is incredible at helping me with the operations and doing all the back work. So I get to focus on the creative and the
engine behind the company.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. That's right. And I owe a lot to her as far as keeping everything organized, and I was actually monetizing a lot of my skill sets. So I think that partnership really helped us figure out that we can make money doing a lot of these things. But honestly, for the first 4 years, it just really felt like we were just going through an MBA. We were just really learning the business. I think the last 4 years is really when this was a real business and we actually were able to do a bunch of stuff.
So you've been at it about 8 years at this point?
Yeah. We, we're actually coming up on our 8-year anniversary on April 1st.
Gotcha.
On April Fool's Day. And then... But yeah, like I said, though, honestly, I think the first 4 years was really us learning about business and really figuring this out. And I think we were just really brave is one word, maybe a little what do you call it?
Naive, maybe.
Naive. Let's use that word, right?
I
think a little naive and thinking we can make this happen. We can do this ourselves.
Sure.
And I think. We got to Atlanta to try to do this, and it was interesting, and we just learned a lot through that experience.
Well, I'm glad you said that, though, because I think, if you're not a little bit naive, it's hard to make the jump.
Yeah.
If you feel like you know all the pros and cons, typically the cons and the risk are going to outweigh the benefit in your brain.
Yeah.
But I had a similar story. Worked in corporate video production for almost 10 years, and so I didn't have the agency contacts. I didn't have the film industry contacts. I didn't have those people that when I left that job, I could just say, hey, just come and hire me freelance. It was really start from scratch. Yeah. So to really have to build something and think to yourself, okay, how do I a lot of people say fake it till you make it, but at the same time, it's how do I gain the experience I need? How do I start to make these connections that I'm lacking?
Yeah.
How do I produce work that I can show people that is an example of the type of work that I want to do?
Yeah.
So I'm sure you guys went through all of that.
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, in hindsight, there's probably a formula that we can do, but I think everybody's story is so unique. Whenever somebody comes up to me and starts talking to me about this, you can tell if somebody's about to make that jump or it's going to take them a while to do it. I do tell them make sure you have at least maybe 6 months of rent kind of saved up. I think that's that's probably
that would have been a good tip.
That's I did about 3 months before I quit, but I think I had. I'm exaggerating. I definitely had enough savings to know that I could survive before I jumped. But that's what I tell everybody. It's hey. Imagine that going into business for yourself is jumping off a cliff. Yeah. And the best thing you could do is try to pack a parachute, right? And then just make sure that parachute can make sure you're not going to crash.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be the worst case scenario. And I think you're totally right about unless you're just a little bit naive or a little bit brash, maybe.
Sure.
You know, like it is kind of tough to be an entrepreneur because it is a very tough life. It is not easy, and a lot of things you're gonna assume are not gonna pan out. Like you're gonna think, oh, these guys are gonna work with me. These are like, or whatever is in your head might not necessarily always pan out. And I think another thing you hit one was super important, which I don't think we realize until later, which is a network. I think a lot of folks, you know, that are successful may have a network when they first start out or like when they split off. We didn't have that because we were very new to, we lived majority of our life in Gwinnett or, you know, in a certain area, and all our connections are there. And then, you know, through whatever industry you're in, like you're a very industry specific connections. And I think that's a lot, that's something big, like a lot of people don't realize, even about going to college. So whenever somebody talks to me about going to college, I say, don't go for the education, go for your potential of building a network, because if you're really, you know, if you're really a good student, you can learn anywhere. You can learn anywhere. You can learn on YouTube, right? So
and we're learning that over the last year.
Exactly.
That's becoming increasingly more clear.
And honestly, I really think, like, you know, higher education will have to adapt to that.
Pivot.
Yeah, they 100% have to adapt to that, because like they'll have to realize that this is a thing. But I think that network, though, that is something that you're not going to be able to get off online.
Of course, yes, it's valuable. You know, Catherine, our producer, and I talk about it all the time about college, great experience in a lot of ways. As far as the educational sitting in the classroom. It's very hard for those universities to sort of stay current in what they're teaching you. And so you're always going to be, I feel like, 5 to 10 years sort of behind, you know, cutting edge technologies, practices, you know, from a creative point, you know, stylistically, you know, because the university systems have to learn those things because they're not out there in the real world. They're kind of in this university bubble. So I'm very thankful for my university time. University of South Carolina, don't listen to this and think I'm trying to dog you. But
there's actually a lot of things that I think universities are great. Like, I think, you know, there are certain things you just can't learn online, like public speaking, for example, or communication, right? Or theory, like philosophy. Those are things that require debate and are things that require skill sets that are really in real life. And those are the ones that will lead you to more success, because you can be the best tech guy, you can be the best videographer, but unless you know how to talk to people, or unless you know how to communicate your idea to somebody, you're not going to be successful. There's
definitely a relational element too, of just, you know, living amongst people that aren't your family. That's important. You need to learn how to do that.
Absolutely.
Especially for us married folks, you know, that's important to learn how to do that. You know, learning how to physically go out and make a network. You know, being amongst people is not the same as creating a network.
100%.
You have to invest your time into other people in a way that it's a two-way street, right? It's not always, you know, we're learning after being in the business now for a few years, and I'm sure you're experiencing a lot through Fourofour and through Chil & Co. Folks that come to you and say, hey, share your experience with me. And so you have to be willing to do that, you know, in order to get that back from the folks that you wanted
and
from.
Shout out to Switchyards, or like, you know, places like Switchyards, right? Like we were even at Alkaloid, which is on the Beltline before then. And we built a network through those, which, you know, we lacked in college. And I think that's something that, like, you know, that's still paying off to this day. Like we still have connections that we met through Switchyards that, you know, we are able to work with, and like they're good ambassadors for us and are good advocates within their own companies or to whoever needs our services. And I think that's like, I'm sure, you know, it's similar to you, like you met,
same.
You know, and I think that's the power of having like a network, you know, like I think.
For sure. For sure. And having, you know, that understanding in that network of, you know, like we talked about, the rising tide lifts all boats philosophy of this place is specifically designed for folks to help each other. And to share experiences and to lean on one another in areas that maybe they're a little bit weaker. So that's super cool. So Chil & Co. I know that it's evolved over 8 years. I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes over the last 4 years or so since we first met. But talk to me about the beginning stages of that for you and Anu, and what sort of your, you know, initial plan when you went into that. Where were you trying to go with Chil & Co. right off the bat?
You know, like when we first started, I think, you know, we had a few clients that we were servicing, and it was like a full-on, we were their marketing team. And in some ways, it's still the same kind of concept, except like the services that we offer and what we specialize in has like really evolved over time. And I think we've fine-tuned what that is. When we first started, we were called Chill Creative, and like I think over time, people just assumed it was me. So I really wanted to come up with a name where like it included, hey, it's me, which is Chill, and her company, which is actually the pivot that we made I think 4 years ago, where we started really hiring more full-time employees, which really made such a tremendous difference. And I think that's really the evolution that I've seen over time. Is when we were first like kind of beginning this, I think in the beginning phases, it was very much like it was me and like whatever consultants I could hire to help me. So there were a lot of freelancers along the way that we worked with, but who we were and the voice was a little missing because we were working with so many different people.
Right.
I think once we started having like an in-house project manager and in-house, designers and, folks that are, in-house photographer and videographer, we were able to establish a voice for who we are, and folks are able to come to us based on that versus like coming to us and say, hey, can you create this? Because we can, but are we the best fit for that? Or are we, are we the right agency to help you through this process? Nowadays, I think it's evolved to where like we specialize in a few things, and I think people are coming to us for those things, and I think we're really happy to work on that because we are really comfortable and we know what we're doing and we're experts in those fields.
That's a good word, because I think as creatives starting out in your own agency or in your own production company, you do think about a lot. Okay, how do what are all the people that I contact? But as you talked about, it's so important to create that voice and create that wheelhouse for yourself of things that you do really well, and to have the process start to work the other way where people see that work and they say, I want that. And they know you're the best at doing that. So they come to you for that. I also think, hiring full-time employees outside of, your family as an entrepreneur is super scary. It's terrifying, to be honest with you, because all of a sudden you're responsible for another human being and their income and the support of their family. It's terrifying, but there's an element of, it's the famous line from the movie Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. It's if you invest in that and you make the right decisions in picking those people that fit into your culture, that fit into that sort of look and feel that you're trying to create of what you do, the rewards can be tenfold in a lot of ways. And I'm sure you guys have experienced that with Chill & Co.
100%. Like I think, there's, I had all these abilities. I think I pinpointed the best practices in each of those and, try to help our team kind of take the best of that, but also bring their expertise to the table. And I think a mixture of both of those things are, were so helpful to the company. But I think you're right. Like, it's just like how much you invest in people is what you kind of, get back. It is, I think you're so right. I think that's why first, such a long time in our early parts of the company, we were like kind of hesitant to take folks on a full-time basis. We started as like, full-time contractors after a while. And then now we're taking on full-time employees with like, and it is really scary because it is a, when you actually look at the numbers and, you go from being a freelancer to looking at those numbers, it is definitely like baffling. Oh man, really? We need to make this much to be able to pay this much. And, those kind of things, I think over time we're learning to get better with and just understanding those, but also hiring others to help us with that process. Cause you can only be so good at so many things. But yeah, I think like, over time, I think I've, gone from being a leader to a leader of leaders, hopefully. Like, and I think that's going to continue where, it's like, as you scale your operation, you have to be able to kind of delegate a little bit better. I still have a really tough time doing that. Cause like, I just like, I have somewhat of a perfectionist kind of, mentality, but it makes it really hard to let go. But this, once you start trusting people, you are able to do that. And I think there's a lot of trust and transparency, that within our company, and we're able to, we really believe like we're, our growth is really fast, but the way we grow our team is really slow. Like we're making sure things are like
deliberate.
I think we want to make sure that everybody's like very understanding of our culture and like our philosophy on how we deal with our clients, how we go about our projects. All those things are very much embedded before you like really jump into things and do things.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, and it's building blocks, right? And it's the first hires are super important.
Yeah.
And as a small business, when you're hiring, I always like to think of it. Okay, if I'm hiring this person, I need to be confident that they could be a vice president of a silo of this company, of a certain aspect of what we're doing.
Yep.
If there's gonna become a point in your company where you're hiring redundancies just to get certain things done. You have a volume of things and you need to get them done. But early on, you're not hiring duplicates. You're hiring people that can enhance what you
100%.
do and fit into the voice like you were talking about, but add an element that you don't have yet.
100%.
So, no, super important. I love how you put that. Okay, talk to me about your bread and butter.
Yeah.
You guys work, like us, with a lot of, small to medium-sized businesses, startups, nonprofits in the city. When they come to you, we've already talked about how voice in not only the creative space, but in business and brand in general is super important.
Yep.
What else are you emphasizing to your clients on how they can truly build an effective brand?
Yeah, I mean, our focus for the last few years has been to help companies find like an authentic voice. And I think that, we try to do that in all forms, in the form of, video production, photography, and also through design. Folks don't really think of that as part of design process, but we really do. We really want things to be authentic, and even the way we go about design is actually very multidimensional. Like folks think of design as sometimes purely illustrative or this or that, but really we combine our photography and video and design to really work together in everything that we do.
Complement.
So for big corporate, honestly, we work in multiple ways. One is just through like a retainer, like where we are your team, like we have a certain scope of services. Like we are either your team that manages your social media services, we are the team that manages your whole brand, which is your website, your social media, and whatever you need, we can do that on like a retainer basis. But we also especially with like bigger and bigger companies, we work on project basis where either we're creating specific assets for them, or we're doing a brand video or a campaign video, things like that. And for small businesses, like we're really, we try to partner with them more than anything, because like, again, our mentality, even through like what's evident through Fourofour, is like we really like giving back. So for us, like super small businesses and startups, we're transitioning from really just like charging them what we would charge them for the bigger corporations, versus like trying to figure out how we can be as effective as possible with the budget they have at hand, and really helping coach through some of that. Because we actually, if you're a small business or a startup, you really don't need an agency to be doing some of those things. You really need to be scrappy, and you need to be doing those things yourself.
Yeah, you're learning them and learning how to execute yourself, for sure.
And paying somebody to teach you how to do that is actually very valuable. So that one-time investment, or like that subscription that you can get through us or through other great companies in town or online, like that's actually going to be very valuable. And we realize who's really a good client, who's really like a good fit for us, and we can maintain and be successful, right? Like I think we want you to be successful so you can hire us. Right. We've supported artists in the past that have come back and hired us, like, which is awesome to see. We've seen small businesses grow and they've continued to keep us on, which is awesome to see. And we've seen big companies that folks from big companies go to other big companies and bring us on board. So it's always really good to see that we have these ambassadors because of the way we work and our philosophy.
Sure. And people see right through the the types of folks that will do a project for you to get the invoice paid and then move on. So
that's never our goal. I think that's and that's honestly been the reason why we've been in business, and we never really market everything's like just coming in because we want to make sure that we give you a good product before you leave.
Right. Yeah. 10 happy clients is a lot better than 25 unhappy clients.
100%.
Yeah, without a doubt. Just the math doesn't quite work there when you start having one-time clients that never come back. But well, Bhargava, this has been great, man. It's great to catch up with you. I want to finish with a question we ask a lot of folks on where are you headed. When you think about 5-10 years down the line, I know us as entrepreneurs are constantly dreaming about what the next stage is. What do you think that is for you, for Chil & Co., for Fourofour, for Chil.Studios, which we haven't talked about yet? But what's the next step?
Chil.Studios is probably the easiest actually to start with, even though we haven't talked about it. So Chil.Studios is like a resource for content creators and just agencies and whoever needs a space to create, but don't have the resources to. So we're actually expanding in this so in the summer to just more spaces, and we're able to build out smaller studios for content creators to just come in and use. And I think, that's something that we're really excited about, just because like it's something that we didn't have to go to when we were coming up in Atlanta, just a space to be able to just, which is affordable, has the resources you need at hand, and just create content, which is content, is necessary for so many people now. So we're just creating an environment, more and more environments for folks to be able to do that. We're located at the Met, which is in only like a mile from the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So it's in a convenient location. So we're really excited about that. For our agency, I would really like us to, it's so interesting. Like, I don't see us getting to be like a mega big, like from a staff standpoint. I would really like to keep the staff somewhat smaller and become more and more specialized in what we do, and really, work with bigger clients. I think that's my goal. Like, I would like to have a Fortune 100 company under my belt, or like the top, one of the top companies in the world under my belt in the next 5 years, and hopefully either produce like an ad or a film that really makes a big impact, or run some incredible social media campaigns that are going to be successful. So that's my goal. I would also love to help like a nonprofit have like a mega successful fundraising campaign or something like that. And for 404, like, it's been on pause for us just through COVID. So I'm really excited to just get it started again, and I'm really excited. I think one thing I'm really excited about is we've learned so much, especially even through the pandemic, that I think like we're going to be able to, for the next round of the collective that's going to help us with the brand, we're really going to be a lot more selective and like a lot more deliberate in who we're bringing in, and I think that's going to really help us, like and we're planning on having a physical space, which is going to be really exciting, and like a physical space for people to be able to display their work and come and collaborate, which is I'm really, really excited about. I'm hoping that's something that again comes true sometime this year.
That's amazing, man. No, great goals, and I love what you said about the goal is not to hire as many people and become as big as possible, because you do lose impact in a certain way when you're focused on that. So it's amazing to hear you talk about that. You the Fortune 100 is coming soon, my friend. I can feel it. It's coming soon.
I hope so.
Well, thanks so much for your time today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate it. I want you to leave the folks with where they can learn more about 404 and Chil & Co.
Yeah, I am b.chil on Instagram. That is the easiest place to find me. And then Chil & Co is chil.co on Instagram. It's Chil.ATL, the website, and chilatl.com. And then Chil.Studios is CHIL Studios. And then 404 is FOUROFOUR.co. That's the domain and Instagram.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, my
That's
friend.
Always tough to go through all of them.
Absolutely. Well, hey, a wealth of information. So study up if you're listening at home, and dive into what they've got going on over there. Thanks, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.